Okay, fans, there she is. It's all done, all finished. I probably skipped a stage. I know I showed the previous 2 stages, probably skipped it. But yeah, it's all complete. I kind of can't quite believe it. It's been an 8-month process from start to finish. I think pretty much January, just late December, January, I kind of identified the frame. Let me take you through the final build and how we've got it to where it is. So just as a reminder, frame came from Italy to medium, 1991, Team Fat Chance, Eddy. Was not in this state, was not in a terrible state, but was you know, the scuffed decals. I think you may have seen from photographs on my Instagram, if not early part of this video. And so that went off to well, it was booked in for paint at Argos Racing Cycles in Bristol in the UK, and you know, they were very open with me to begin with that, you know, they said it was going to be difficult to match this green. The blue was pretty standard, pretty easy. It's a metallic, very close to one they had in stock, but the green was going to be unique, as we know, this Grello from Fat Chance and Fat City Cycles. But you know what, straight out of the box, their ability to match it was impeccable. They sent me a sample, a photograph sample, looked amazing, looked spot on, and I said, let's go, let's do it. So the frame did actually have a very small, some of you may know, these American frames of the period around the early 90s, rarely would they have any drainage holes drilled into the frame, and so they do tend to rust from the inside if any moisture gets in. This had a pinhole which in the down tube, which was not near a weld, and was, you know, with a bit of braze was able to be fixed, and they did that as part of the process. And yeah, and then did the paint job. They've got a big long waiting list, so I had to wait for many months for that, but it gave me time to collect lots of the parts. So frame, true temper, Fat Chance 1991, as I've said, factory frame, size medium, came from Italy. That was the original owner, I believe. And yeah, let's go around the other side. So there we can see, some of you fans will know that the Eddy was only ever as a decal on one side, I guess, because on the other side you had all the routing done. So yeah, some unique features like that. For example, on the rear seat stairs, there's only ever one skull and crossbones. There was never one on that side, so it's not like I've missed it off or been foolhardy in my application of the decals. But yeah, so paint, frame covered. Decals, they came from Velo Cycles in the US. They do a lot of the Team Fat Chance and Fat City Cycles stuff. So I ordered those. Again, they took a while to come, particularly with Brexit, COVID, all of the usual things that got in the way. And then we get to, so that was all pretty simple. Decals went along. They're actually all, they're all actually under the lacquer. So that's all, you know, proper factory finish on that from the team at Argos Racing Cycles. So then, what to go with? And I know there's been a lot of builds on retro bike and period builds. You know, really ultimately, while there was a catalogue spec of this, you may have seen at stage 2, I had the catalogue spec Salsa 1-inch steerer stem with the roller. I actually decided to go with the Holy Trinity of the stem, the seat post and the cranks. The Syncross, I had them. This came as was. There's a video on my channel which shows you how these came from Japan and how I went about restoring those to somewhere near the factory finish. I also had to restore this 150mm 1-inch Syncross stem as well. New decals, they came from Gill at Retro Decals, and the paint, etc., I did myself, and it's not an entirely bad job. Pretty rare to get one of these in 1-inch and with a noodle, as was the early Syncross spec. So pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with the way the cranks have turned out. These are a Canadian, they're not Syncross rings, but they are a Canadian make, which obviously keeps in keeping of the time, period of the time. Black Spire, they were an aftermarket, a bit like a Pace would be in the UK. So they did lots of chainrings and that kind of CNC'd good stuff in aluminium. So they're pretty trick too. But let's try and go around this in some kind of order. So we've done, I guess in some ways, the frame. We've done the finishing kit, being all Syncros. I'm a huge fan of the Syncros. I mean, in terms of group set, it had to be XTR. This is a dream build. I've never had XTR on any bike, and so I went about collecting a whole M900 set of kit. Yes, XTR. That's really going to be the only way forward. So, really good condition. All the different components managed to get my hands. It's not NOS, but it's definitely good stuff. Good condition. XTR M900 group set, early shifters. Yes, it's a 91 bike, and the early the eagle-eyed of you will recognise that early XTR was 92 with the underbar shifters. I kind of squared that with myself, that a 91 frame could easily have some kind of early additions of the brand new group set and underbar shifters rather than going for XT thumb shifters. Excuse me. So that's what we went for there. While we're in the cockpit department, this True Temper steel bar is not a particularly valuable piece of hardware, but it is rare. And True Temper, of course, was the American steel manufacturer of the tubes. So I felt that was appropriate. Could have gone Hyperlight, could have gone Syncros. If I could have found a Syncros bar, I possibly would have done, but they're so rare and often actually quite narrow. And this was, as I believe, an uncut bar. It's in keeping. It's a kind of intelligent choice, as I like to think of it, rather than the rock and roll choice, which should be easy to go for a super expensive badged version of, again, something from Answer, something from Syncros or other such trinketry. But I think it's good that they've gone for something quite authentic with the nod to True Temper and their steel and metal work. Okay, so that's the group set and the bars and everything else done. I guess, you know, some of you may be thinking, what's this? Why have we not gone Chris King? Why have we not gone XTR? To be honest, it's a hard-working piece of the jigsaw. A Ritchie Logic stem, it just does the job. And I think, yeah, Chris King, a 1-inch Chris King threaded headset type, quite hard to find. And maybe that is one area that an upgrade may come in the future if I feel so inclined. But this is not for showmanship. This is going to be a workhorse, and I think nothing wrong with having a good, sturdy, hard-working period or reasonably period piece of kit there. I've talked about these cranks, and there is a video on my channel. Some early XT Shimano SPDs. Normally go with DX for this stuff, but given this build, I thought I'd go as high as I could, and I managed to find myself and snag myself a pair of those. Which, talking of pairs of things worth hanging on to, I managed to snag myself a pair of MA40 Mavic rims, NOS, never used. As you can see from the braking surface there, completely new. Had these built up on a M900 XTR hub with, these aren't new, but still got the all-important logo. Hasn't been polished off. Same at the rear. So pretty proud of myself for getting my hands on those. Let me just find the Decals, proof of its legitimacy there. And then so that's that. The tyres, I quite like these kind of caramel walled tyres. I think I've mentioned those earlier in the video. Again, a Panaracer. You sometimes see people with a build go for a pure black wall on these earlier bikes, which I may also do. I do have a pair of 1.9 comp light Panaracer smokes, which I did used to ride a lot, and they have just a bit more side edge bite than a dart as well. I like to have the smokes in a pair, but these Mythos, these IRC Mythos, also I think a fine example of a A lot of these American bikes, sort of Kleins, they seem to have this sort of more caramel wall than the absolute skin wall sometimes, and I think it kind of suits them. It's quite exotic, got a sort of exoticness to it. What else? Ringley, call it what you will. These skewers, I would have saved up weeks of bar work or pocket money, actually bar work money, to lavish my any bike in the 90s with those, so quite good. Quite glad I got my hands on a set of them. Quite difficult, would have probably gone for the holy trinity of having the seat post collar in the same, but actually this is an original unit from the frame, so don't feel too guilty about that. And that leaves us with little else. Gold chain. I know some of my gentlemen cartel collectors have questioned the gold. I don't think gold plated chains were available back in the early 90s, so if there was any scrutineering going on, this was any part of any kind of competition, and that would probably change for a silver chain. But I do like the gold, it gives it a bit of extra bling-a-ding-ding when it needs to. I've lined up all the frame protectors here. That's standard fare. Some blue anodized bolts I'd lying around seem to go well. I think the green and the blues are real joy to bring together as a colourway. Yeah, I mean, it's quite difficult to go too off-piste with these builds. I've seen quite a few and they're quite similar, but I think this is also pretty unique. Seen a lot of aqua fades full of ringle stems and seat tubes and blue anodization everywhere, which I completely buy into. I just think with this one it was a bit more of a, I guess it's kind of a gentleman's spec. Quite monochromatic, didn't go too lavish, could have gone for Grafton brakes, could have gone for all sorts of things. I did actually have a pair of self-energizing Scott Pedersen brakes lined up, but I went for the full XTR. A little bit of trinketry on the cable hangers, as you can see. But yeah, I mean, I do have another set of wheels, because inevitably if I ride this, and I will ride this, the coating's going to come off of those MA40s, and I don't want that to happen, because I wanted to keep it. So I have a kind of display set, and then I also got to have a riding set. Quite fortunate enough to have a set in the garage which have M231 Mavics and I also on XTR hubs. So if I'm out on the trails, it'll still perform like it should. But yeah, it's I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. Hope you like it. It's been a long build. It's not been inexpensive collecting some of these parts. I've played way over the odds, but you know, I'm happy with it's kind of been worth it, to be fair. It's very rare we're going to do another build quite to this standard, but you know, it's a joy, and I can't really wait to try it out. Everyone says that the ride quality from these True Temper Fat Chance, Chris Chance built frames, the original ones made in Massachusetts apparently, are what it's all about. Oh, I nearly forgot. So I think I mentioned it earlier, but after doing lots of research, these press-in bearing bottom brackets are something that I was ever party to back in the early 90s, and after much research, apparently the gentleman in an organisation in the US called Phil Wood are the absolute dogs for these kind of spindle and press fit bearings that go into a lot of Kleins, all the early Kleins, and some of these early Fat Chance frames and others that didn't have the screw-in sort of termed bottom bracket. So yeah, I was kind of a bit sceptical of that. Thanks again to Argos Racing Cycles for actually fitting it for me. I think he could see my naivety and my lack of skills, and they said, should we push that in for you so you don't scratch the frame? We've just spent hours painting. So that was very nice of them to do that. I bought these collars, which again at the time, so it's effectively, you clamp them on and it stops this collar separate from everything else, and that stops the spindle supposedly moving through the press bearings. But to be honest, the bearings and the spindle from Phil Wood, they're so precisionally built, and the tolerances are so amazing that when that's sat in there, I don't think that spindle is going to go anywhere. But that said, those collars are useful for keeping the spindle in place. I kind of guessed the length. I think I've got the chain line about right, which is good. And yeah, so that's also another something again I wasn't really party to at the time, and I think that the engineering of Phil Wood and his team is lauded by many owners all over the world, and so that was great that I was able to get them to they had what I needed in stock, and we were able to send that out to me. Again, another reason why it's taken 8 months is because things like that took, you know, 8-10 weeks to arrive, all these different parts, and then I changed my mind on some parts, which meant that this took a little bit longer. A bit like this film. It's taken probably longer of your day than you maybe had hoped for once you started watching it, but hopefully it's been worth it. Hopefully this is cool. I'll probably drop some DB's MTB Retro Workshop Instagram channel. If you're not already following that, follow that. Give this a thumbs up, leave comments if you love it, and yeah, and maybe there'll be another build along soon. In fact, there will be another build along soon, once I've managed to extract the seat post from the frame of said build, which is causing me some grief. But yeah, can't wait to get out on this. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, check back in for more builds hopefully sometime soon in the future. All right.